I'm Michael Clark, and this is Facts at 5. I'm here at the LTV studios in Waynescott, New York, with the town supervisor from East Hampton, Peter Van Scoyoc. But before we get to Peter, I'd like to tell you that this interview will be followed by Angela LaGreca, who will be interviewing, his name is Tuan Gwyn, and he's a wellness store. He's opening up a wellness store on Newtown Lane, actually, and which is a glimmer of hope in this environment that we live in these days. But so she'll be talking about that. So stay tuned for that right after our interview with Peter Van Scoyoc, which we do every Friday just about. And Peter, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me back on, Michael.
All right.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. And so, you know, we're gearing up for the possibility of a little weather today, they're saying. So how are we looking? You didn't realize that you were a weatherman on top of the town supervisor.
Right. Well, you know, weather impacts us all. And I think this system, which is a tropical system, and normally I don't think we usually see the tropical systems quite this early in the year. Usually it's closer to August, September. But this one's coming up the coast. It's going to bring some pretty heavy winds and very heavy rains potentially. The forecast earlier was 2 to 4 inches potentially, depending on quite how it hits, and winds of 35 knots or so. So if you have a boat, you might be concerned about getting some additional lines on it if it's exposed, closing those pool umbrellas, anything that might blow around. It's supposed to be coming in around 4 or 5 o'clock and lasting a little while through the evening. So. All
right. Well, there's the boat captain, you coming out again, Peter. You can't help yourself, I guess, sometimes.
I say knots instead of miles per hour with wind speed.
Yeah.
You know, the other part of this will be that it can bring some heavy surf over the next couple of days. While that's anticipated by anyone who likes to surf, is because it's been kind of flat lately. My son's a surfer, so he's looking forward to the waves increasing. But just a reminder to everyone, if you're planning on swimming in the ocean, you know, Saturday or Sunday, probably more Sunday, that there's likely to be a chance of severe rip currents occurring along the shoreline. You really shouldn't be swimming anywhere in the ocean unless you're at a guarded beach and observe the flags and the warnings. If it's a red flag day, they don't want you going in the water. Yellow flag, not going out quite as far, and so unless the green flag is flying, you shouldn't be going all the way in the water.
Well, some good advice there, that's for sure. So yeah, you got the weekend coming up, but this past holiday weekend, we saw a variety of reports about how the surge and people were handled, and you know, everybody's got their impression of how things are. But I'd love to hear your impression about how it went in the town of East Hampton.
Well, it was a very, very busy weekend. 4th of July is historically and traditionally the busiest weekend we have here in what is generally a very busy summer. You know, our population swells. We're about 22,000, 23,000 year-round folks, and it could be as high as 100 or 120,000 on a given holiday weekend like this. High volume everywhere. I will say I felt like everything generally came off really well. Businesses were busy, but following the protocols for the most part. We had a couple instances of maybe some night spots getting a little too exuberant, and they were cited for violations and referred to the state liquor authority for those violations. You know, I think it's really important that the general public continue to be vigilant about the spread of the disease. You really should be wearing a mask when you're close to others and in public settings. And you know, we've put so much effort into restarting our economy, reopening our businesses safely. What I heard from the business community was that they're very upset actually about those outliers, those ones that aren't following the rules, because they don't want this to mess things up for everyone. You know, we can't afford to have a resurgence here. We have a very short season, and for things to be shutting down or going backwards after all the sacrifice that we've all endured would really be unfair. And I think generally the public is not very happy about that particular set of circumstances that occurred over the weekend. You know, our enforcement agencies have been working full time and overtime to address all the normal things that we would have happen during the summer. The police department had over 400 calls and 107 calls between 6 p.m. On Saturday and 6 a.m. Sunday morning. So in a 12-hour period, 107 calls. And they run the gamut from injuries, automobile accidents, DWIs, domestic disputes, parties with noise violations and whatnot. So it's all hands on deck every summer. I think what's different, obviously, about this summer is that we're doing this with the backdrop of the pandemic, and there's an additional, concern and risk that we're working to address. So.
Okay, so let's talk about one of the main reasons that people visit us, right? It's the beach. And right now, only the residents have the permits. Does that seem to be working in your estimation? Or did that go as planned?
Well, I think, it's important to understand that right now we're still under 50% occupancy restrictions imposed by the governor. We restricted our permit issuing to residents only this year. We suspended non-resident permits. We just recently have started to issue non-resident family permits, and that's a permit for someone who has an immediate family member who is a resident. You have to prove that relationship by presenting birth certificate or other documentation acceptable to the clerk. And for a $100 fee, you can get that permit. We're also going to be issuing the co-op permits shortly. We're sort of opening things up. We wanted to see how things would go with the beach in terms of occupancy. It was super busy over the holiday weekend. We did close Atlantic Beach, I think, for a period of about 45 minutes or so until some folks started leaving the beach, and then we opened it back up. We do have a closure plan in place. Really hate to be closing the beaches, but when we get to capacity, we're going to have to do that. We also have had our lifeguards going around literally with the 10-foot pole to demonstrate to people this is how far apart you need to stay if you're not in the same family group. That went really well. I did get some postings of photographs of the beach on Facebook or whatever, folks concerned about the volume of people on the beach, but they were oblique views. So if you stepped out on the beach and you took a photograph down the beach, obviously it looks like everybody's just jam-packed together. And we actually set up drones to fly over and monitor the beaches and take aerial photographs. And from the aerial photographs, you can see that actually people were properly and appropriately spaced out. So we really didn't run into too many issues there. We've got Parks and Rec staff that are meeting people as they enter the beach and informing them that it's important for them to be wearing masks in the parking lots and when they're transiting the beach on and off. So that all went really well. Super high volume, but really pleased and have had nothing but great reports about the way our staff have conducted themselves, and many residents and visitors have been very pleased with the way the beach has gone so far. So hopefully we'll all stay on track with that.
I think one of the common misunderstandings too, Peter, and maybe you could clear it up for us, is because it was even concerning for me that by having the lifeguards take part in the social distancing protocol, enforcing the social distancing protocols, that it kind of takes them away from their actual job, right? So, which is they're doing it. What's your thought on that?
Well, I mean, there's always a person on the stand. The person on the stand is the one who's watching folks in the water, and the other guards that are there, are taking shifts going on and off the stand. It's very intensive work, requires a great deal of focus, maintaining that focus because people's lives are at stake, and just a mere matter of moments, someone could get caught in a rip and potentially drown. So there's always somebody watching on the stand. The other lifeguards, the auxiliary guards are there. If a situation occurs, a whistle's blown, the command's given, a rescue commences, and often involves multiple lifeguards. So, the person who's charged with monitoring the social distancing on the beach is not the one who's responsible for directly watching what's going on in the water, but they're there to assist in a rescue should that occur.
That's good information. I appreciate that. What else is going on, Peter? What's hot? I mean, we're obviously still in the midst of a pandemic here. you know, how do you see things washing out so far?
Well, I think it's going to be an ongoing effort to continually remind folks not to let their guard down with regard to the virus. It's here, it's going to be here for the foreseeable future. We just want to make sure that the numbers don't start increasing. That's going to be one of our primary focuses. We are, continuing with other business as well. That's ongoing, no matter, there's so many different issues that we're dealing with. Today, I'm just signing off on our agreement with the Army Corps of Engineers to let them know that conceptually we agree with the enhanced dredging of Montauk, Lake Montauk Channel. Looking forward to that work getting started. That's going to improve the channel depth there from the currently designated 12 feet to 17 feet. Much of the fleet potentially can run aground various conditions when they're shoaling in that 12-foot depth channel. It's the largest, busiest fishing port in all of New York State. So, and that dredge spoil will add to sand on the beach to the west. So I think that'll be a good project. It'll take a while before that's actually initiated, but so we're moving forward with that. We've recently had a coastal assessment resiliency planning network, which is posted up on the website, discussing about how we plan towards dealing with a major issue for us, which is coastal erosion and sea level rise. That's ongoing. Our renewable energy strategies within the town are moving forward. We're discussing the purchase of hydroelectric power to supplement our electric needs here for the town hall complex and town buildings. Again, moving more towards renewable energy. So there's a lot going on, and we'll be talking about a lot more of those things now that our focus is able to be broadened. Obviously, job one was public safety in the pandemic, and thankfully the numbers are pretty flatlined at a low level, a rate of infection, but we still have to be really careful and cognizant of that. You still need to be washing your hands regularly and wearing a mask when you're in public, disinfect commonly used surfaces. That's going to be the norm, for the foreseeable future in order to keep everybody safe and not have a reoccurrence.
Well, that's about where we're at. That's for sure. And Peter, thank you. Once again, I know you're a busy guy these days, and thank you for letting us know that there's another job for you besides pandemic. That there's other stuff that you're quietly taking care of. I didn't mean the weatherman stuff. That was all.
Yeah. You know what? I wouldn't mind being the weatherman because you don't even have to be right half the time.
Half the time, that's right. Yes. But thank you.
I like that for the supervisor.
Yeah. No, I bet not. But thank you once again, Peter, and we'll see you again next week, I suppose.
Thanks so much for having me on the show, Michael. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, everybody.
All right. See you next week. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. Stay tuned for Angela. Bye now.
Bye-bye.